Kurt, this exploded, and I saw this on Twitter before I saw it reported anywhere, and you just feel horror. And the most horrific part of the story is the part we haven't mentioned, which is that someone watched it happen. It seems that any policies around protecting people have to be protecting them from the bystander who does nothing, as well as the violent person who attacks them.
Yeah, Nicolle, I mean, as someone who like so many in this country, watched and experienced this particular assault through social media, I was struck not just by how brutal the attack was, but by the lack of anyone doing anything to help, whether it was just even simply calling the police. The fact that that wasn't even done, the least you could do in this type of situation, stood out to me. And we've seen that pattern time and again. Every time that one of these assaults happens against Asian Americans, whether it's on the subway or in the streets, everyone has their phone out. But where are the people that are trying to step in and help these defenseless and traditionally elderly Asian American, men and women being attacked? I'd like to think that if I saw someone being attacked, whether they were white, black, Asian, Latino, Middle Eastern, that I would try to do something to stop that from happening. And this is part of it's not enough to just tweet the hashtag Stop Asian Hate. And while that's great, we need people to get involved. We need people to take action. And when you are in proximity to something like that going on, we need you to step in and try to help too, because these things will keep happening and escalating unless we all, as a community of just human beings, take a stand together and unite against violence against minorities in this country.
Well, and Kurt, I'm a meddler, so whether it's organizing the overhead luggage for everyone within 10 rows or calling 911 when someone has a medical emergency, I did both Friday. I can't stay out of people's business, but I don't know how you legislate that. How do you create policies that, because to me, both crimes seem to be justifying the same kind of policy response. The criminal needs to be charged and prosecuted, the alleged criminal, but the bystander needs some sort of treatment as well, because it's the bystander that makes the difference oftentimes whether someone lives or dies or is even caught. So how do you capture the bystanders and change their behavior?
Yeah, it reminds me of that saying that for evil to triumph, all that is required is for good people to do nothing. And that's what it really feels like a lot of the time. And, obviously you can't make it a crime to not do something, I suppose. But we have to, again, we can't just have what we call performative activism. Doing the least amount possible. If you really care about change, if you're really passionate about equality and justice in America, then it takes more than just posting something on Instagram or on Twitter. It takes more than doing the performative least threshold possible to get involved. It requires you to be aware. It requires you to look within your own world and your own community at what injustices are happening and taking a leadership role in trying to right those wrongs. And it also requires that we have a better sense of the historical context of what's happening. Violence against Asian Americans is not new in this country.
Yeah.
It didn't just happen over the last year. Watching the trial right now going on in the effort to get justice for George Floyd, I think back to 1982 in Michigan when Vincent Chin was murdered by two white guys and got off with just a $3,000 fine and no justice for Vincent Chin at all. The pursuit of justice is something that is widespread amongst all communities of color, including Asian Americans, and we all need to understand and really do our due diligence in learning about the history and context of what's going on, because just because it hasn't been leading the news for the last 30 years doesn't mean it's not something that people look like me have been living with for all of our lives.